Hey, good morning, YouTube. It is me again, your favorite Texas trucker, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about making the change from becoming being a company driver to becoming an owner operator. All right, I am sitting at home in Weatherford, Texas, and I'm sitting in the cab of my new truck. Well, it's an old truck, but it's my new truck, and I'm on home time. I'll be going back out with Millis for about 3 more weeks, and then I'll be making the change to Triple C Transit here in Weatherford, Texas. I'm going to start pulling dry van, and then I'm going to make a switch in a couple of months over to flatbed. Excuse me. So let's talk about this a little bit, okay? Each of you have got different levels of experience as truck drivers. Okay, let me shut this door right here. Roll my window down and shut this door. Each of you have got varying levels of experience as truck drivers. Okay, and each of you have different things that you want out of your trucking career. Excuse me while I come back here. I don't want to run my batteries down any more than I have to, and I just noticed that my light's on also. Okay, let's try this again. Each of you have something that you want out of your career, all right? And it's all different. Some of you want to be home all the time. Some of you want to be gone all the time. Some of you want to make a lot of money. Some of you just want to be your own boss. Some of you just aren't happy working for somebody else. I don't know. The reasons that you might consider being an owner-operator are so varied that, it's kind of hard to get into them. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to identify why you want to be an owner-operator, okay? Because it might not be the best choice for everybody. Now, I'm just getting into this, so there's a lot that I have to learn. There's a lot that I'm going to make mistakes on the way, all right? And some of those mistakes may cost me quite a bit, and I'm aware of that, okay? I've tried to, as much as possible, I have tried to make allotments for that. I'm trying to figure out a place I can stick this so I don't have to sit here and hold it the whole time that we're talking today. Again, this is something I probably should have worked out before we started, but all right, that'll work. Now, excuse the mess in the background. If you watched my last video, you know that I'm still in the process of moving into this truck, and so I do have things just kind of laying around. All right. Identify why you want to become an owner-operator, because if your reasons aren't solid, you're going to make mistakes that may end up costing you. Second is to create a plan, okay, to do it. Now, I created a plan from day one. All right, I've been an entrepreneur, a business owner most of my life, okay? I don't do well working with other people or working for other people. And maybe it's a character flaw, I don't know, but I don't do well working with or working for other people. I do best when I'm working for myself, because when I'm working for myself, I'm the most highly motivated to do the best that I can do. All right, and so for me, it was a no-brainer. From the day that I made the switch from my last career to coming into truck driving, I was going to be a truck driver, right? And I was going to be an owner-operator. Trucking has been in my blood since I was a kid. My dad was a truck driver. My wife's dad was a truck driver. I drove trucks when I was in the Army, amongst the other things that I did while I was in the Army. And then when I got out of the Army, I went to truck driving school. And as things, I was planning on a trucking career when I was 20 years old. but things didn't work out for various reasons. And I ended up doing some other things and got caught up in life for a while. And so it came to the time when my last business fell apart and I went back into trucking and never looked back. All right, now I'm not the most highly experienced person out here. Okay, there's people that have more experience, that are better qualified to tell you what you need to do and how you need to do it. But I am a businessman, and I've run businesses most of my life, and most of the time it's been successful. Ultimately, my last business failed, but for the most part, my businesses have been successful. So with that said, I do have some qualifications. All right. Now, when I came into trucking, and when I do this in any career, when any place that I'm going to run something, what I did is I spent months analyzing and researching the field that I was going into. In this case, truck driving. Okay. And I analyzed it with the idea that I wanted the best opportunities for myself that I could possibly get. So when I went to school to get my CDL again, and when I went to school to get back into the trucking industry, I wasn't concerned with what was free. I wasn't concerned with what was easy. I was concerned with getting the best school that I could get and working in a starter company that was the best starter company possible. And so I researched company after company, excuse me, after company, and I researched it with several things in mind. The first was what this company, or whether or not this company was sufficient to do what I wanted it to do, and whether or not it was going to serve me for the next year. So I looked at companies' reputations. I looked at companies' records. I looked at companies' schools. I looked at everything, and I chose Millis Transfer, and I'm happy with that choice. All right, it was a good choice. It's been a great company. When it came time for me to go to school, then I already was studying on becoming an owner operator. So I was looking at what's involved, what's the cost of becoming an owner operator. Yeah, on one hand, you own your own vehicle, so you're your own boss. But what does that cost? Right? What does it take to do that? You look at these vehicles, and you figure in the cost of maintenance, the cost of tires, the cost of fuel, the truck payment itself, the cost for insurance, the cost for the plates, the cost for permits and tags, and if you're going to become a fully independent owner operator running under your own authority, the cost for getting your authority, the filing your IFTA taxes, the cargo insurance, the fucking liability insurance, that you've got to carry. Then you look at the fact that you're an independent contractor, and so you've got to look at what's it going to cost for you to get health insurance, what's it going to cost for you to get life insurance, what's it going to cost for you to get disability insurance. Keep in mind the fact that you have to pay both sides of your federal income tax. You have to pay your state income tax if your state has income tax. You have to pay Medicare and Medicaid. All these are costs associated with running a business, and so you sit down and you look at it and you think, well, what's the cost of operating my truck? What's it gonna take for me to do that? What if I don't get the loads that I need to cover my bottom line? And that goes back into what I was saying earlier, and that I wanted my overhead to be as low as possible, because the lower my overhead is, the lower the amount of money I have to make to break even is. And once you know what your break-even point is, once you know, well, this is what I have to make every week in order to break even, then you know where your profit margin lies. You know where you know what you need to put down to upgrade your vehicle. I told you when we were going through the truck a little while ago, the upgrades I wanted to make. I want to change to digital gauges. I want to add different switches. I want to add gauges to the truck. I want to add chrome. I'm going to probably get a brand new hood for the truck because the hood is shot. I'm going to get a paint job for the truck. I got to get some body work done to the back of it. It's that stuff costs money. And so you've got to set money aside for that. It's an old truck. It's going to need maintenance. So, I'm going to have to create a maintenance plan and get regular maintenance done on my truck, and that stuff is going to cost money. All right. And so you sit down and you look at these things and you think, well, it can be mind-boggling. You sit down and you look at it, and on top of all that, you think, well, I've got rent, or I've got a mortgage I got to pay. I got phone bills. I got internet bills. I got food I got to buy. I've got, family at home, that I've got to provide for, and so on top of your break-even point, you have to make a paycheck, or you're not getting anywhere in life. And then on top of that, you want to make a profit. So once your home bills are paid, once your truck bills are paid, once your taxes are paid, once your fuel is paid, well, then you got to pay you, and so you've got to make a paycheck. So make a plan. All right, get a plan. I'm not one of these guys that think that you have to start with 3 months worth of income in the house. I'm sure that would be great, but when you figure that your monthly bills may be, on top of the truck, your monthly bills, may run into, $2,000 a month, maybe even $3,000 a month. And then you add, your truck expenses into it. And we're just going to talk about being leased on to another carrier that provides base plates, provides permits, provides the fuel tax stuff, provides all that kind of stuff for you, so it takes a good amount of that off of you. But still, you got a truck payment, you got bobtail insurance, you might have a rider insurance policy, you got physical damage insurance, and then you've got to pay your portion of your tags and your permits and and all that stuff out of there, and your truck payment. So if you're like me and you keep your overhead low, my overhead is low. That might come out to, $2,000 a month, all right, at most, and that's figuring in fuel and, and all that stuff, $2,000, $2,500 a month. And I have a low overhead. If you're in a lease purchase where you're paying $700-800 a week for your truck, well, then you're looking more along the lines of, $3,000-4,000, a week that you're gonna be needing. All right, and so you got to figure all of that stuff in there. You got to figure, well, how am I going to do this? It's part of your plan. All right, so when you figure in your expenses like that, and you think, well, I got to have 90 days or 6 months worth of expenses, you're talking about $25,000 that you got to have in the bank, or more, before you can even think about starting. And I, I'm not that way. I'm running a little tight. I've only got about $2,000 in the bank. $2,000's not enough, to give me much of a leeway. The company that I'm leasing onto is only going to pay every other week. So, I've got the potential of being able to clear, well, not clear, but being able to gross, $6,000 or so a week to the truck. But it's going to take 2 weeks to get that. So, and then all them expenses have got to come out. So, you have a plan. So this is kind of what I did, and we're gonna keep it short, and then we'll move to another video, another topic. What I did was, I saved money in a lot of little ways. All right. For one, I did all my cooking, or most of my cooking, in the truck. I'd say about 80% of the cooking that I did out of the truck. And it saved me an enormous amount of money. All right. Second thing that I did is that I don't spend change. All right. If I go into a truck stop and I buy something and the cost for it is $3.40, then I pay $4. The 60 cents goes in my pocket. That money all goes into a bag. Every 2 or 3 months, I take that bag up to the bank and I cash it in, put it into the savings account. All right. Next thing that I did is I didn't spend anything more than I absolutely had to spend. Okay. and I put $200, $300, $400 a week into the bank in order to save money. All right, so as I put $200, $300, $400 into the bank over the last couple of years, I was able to save up enough money to go down and put a down payment down on this truck and pay enough of a down payment to keep my monthly payments down very low. All right, and that's what I want. That was my goal, was to either buy a truck outright or to buy a truck that had very low monthly payments. So you sit down and you look at it. You can go into a lease purchase agreement, and on a lease purchase agreement, you could purchase a vehicle, put nothing down, and then pay $700-800 a week for the truck. All right, and then once you finally own the truck, you have a truck that's going to have a bunch of problems that's not going to be under warranty anymore. Or you can do like I do, and you can go down and you can put $5 or $6 down on a $20,000 truck, and you can pay $600 a month, and all that extra money, because my $600 a month comes out to $150 a week, whereas your $700 a week, it's a huge difference. My maintenance costs aren't going to be that much, not the difference. I'm not going to be spending $600 a week or $550 a week in maintenance. Although I am going to have some maintenance costs, and no, it's not covered under warranty. So, you create you a plan, and my plan was for an older truck that didn't have all the computerized EGR stuff in it, and something that I would be able to maintain, in the short term, long enough to make me money, okay? And then, if I need to or want to upgrade to a better truck, or if I want to just put this one in the shop and have it completely rebuilt, then I have that option. I have that option to do exactly that. So, so that was my plan, and you have to maintain a plan. Second is you have to study. You need to learn what the rates are coming and what rates are actually being paid out to drivers who use brokers, drivers who use direct shippers. What lanes are paying decent and what lanes are paying trash, and that's something that's constantly going to fluctuate. It's something that you're going to have to get into and you're going to have to learn. So you need to find resources where you can learn that information. How do you deal with a broker? Or do you want to deal with a broker? How do you get direct shipment contracts? These are things that you need to study and that you need to look on. What is involved in leasing onto a company? What is involved in running your own independent authority? Study, learn, talk to owner operators, find out what the pitfalls are, find out what they learned. What kind of engine should you choose for a truck when you go to buy a truck, because it's going to be an important choice. I went through 4 different trucks that I had lined up to purchase, and all of them were great deals, and I turned 3 of the 4 down, because ultimately, after researching the engines, I determined that there were some issues that were going to end up being very costly for me, in repair work. So I chose not to do some of those trucks, even though they were a better deal than this truck, and the engines were still in great condition. It's just the fact that the engine types, one of them was too weak to do what I needed to do, and one of them was too expensive to work on to do what I wanted to do, and so there was reasons for each one of those for me not doing something with them. So research your engine, research your transmission, know your market, know what it is that you're going to want to get into when you do it, and then make a informed decision on purchasing the truck. Before you buy that truck and before you bring it home, you want to know where it's going to go to work. Are you going to be in your own? Are you going to have your own authority, or are you going to run under somebody else's authority? It's immensely important. And if you're going to run under someone else's authority, have all that already set up. Okay, let's go ahead and cut this video short, and then we will look at another one. I'll get this one here uploaded. We'll look at another one here in a little bit. So if you like the video, please comment. Let me know if it's been helpful to you. Share it, like it, subscribe. And those of you guys out there that have more experience than me, hey, feel free to tell me where I might be wrong at and some things that I might need to focus on a little bit more. All right, much love to y'all. Thanks much for watching, and we'll catch you on the flip side. Peace out.